This fourth Sunday of Advent is also the fourth, as you might recall, in a series of reflections during the season of Advent called Anticipation. It began with that first Sunday of Advent when Deacon Bob Arvidson offered his reflections on that meeting of anticipation during the season of Advent when the first purple candle was lit. And if you recall, there was just the wreaths that were on the Advent platform. And then the second Sunday of Advent, when the second candle was lit, when Deacon Tom and Deacon John spoke of the meeting of anticipation during the season of spiritual preparation. And then at that time, on the Advent platform, then the ribbons were added, the many different color ribbons, also reminding us of the many different reflections of humanity that make up God's creation. The third Sunday, Father Paul spoke, and on that Sunday, roses were intertwined with the garlands upon the Advent platform. And the pink candle was lit, reminding us the anticipation, a sense of joy, uplifting in spirit, to celebrate once again liturgically the Incarnation. And then on this Sunday, the fourth Sunday, intertwined with the garland and the roses on the Advent platform are stars. And the fourth candle lit for the fourth week. Deacon Bob proclaimed the gospel just a moment ago. And what is the anticipation of the Blessed Mother as she waited to hear the word of the message from Yahweh delivered to her by the Archangel Gabriel? What was the anticipation in her heart of this young, basically almost a teenager, as this message was being brought to her to do what? To bring the Son of God into the world, to put the plan of salvation in motion, to bring about that sense of the Redeemer that would restore unity that was disrupted in the Garden of Eden, in the Genesis story, when humanity, through Adam and Eve, said no to God. No, we're not going to do it your way anymore. And that caused this rupture, this disconnect, this disunity between creation and the Creator. Mary had a very pivotal moment in humanity's history when the message was presented to her, will you bring the Son of God into the world? And Scripture reminds us through Luke and Matthew, even then she pondered and was troubled and wondered, what does all this mean? But in the bottom line, in the final analysis, in the spiritual awakening of Mary, she said, yes. Yes, I will bring the Son of God into the world. Yes, I will give birth to the one who is to be called Jesus. Her yes put in motion the salvation plan by the God who so loves us and promised a Redeemer. There's another yes in Matthew and Luke's Gospel as well, and that is Joseph. Joseph too had to say yes, and not in such in the way of bringing the Son of God into the world and one of us in all but sin, but in bringing Mary into his home as his betrothed, as his wife. Joseph, once he found out that this Mary, the one he is engaged to, which meant married to at the custom of the time, if the word got out that she was pregnant, and it was not by him, according to the custom of the time of the Jewish people, she would have been stoned to death for her infidelity to her husband, to Joseph. But Joseph was a righteous man, as Scripture says. And Joseph also had that message delivered by the Archangel Gabriel. Joseph, don't be afraid. Bring Mary into your home, for she bears the Son of God, who will be called Emmanuel. God is with us. So Moses saying yes to bring Mary into his home also was part of that plan of salvation. He too must have wondered. He too must have pondered. I'm not the father, and this is my wife, and whose child is this? But his righteousness, meaning his faith in Yahweh, raised him above his human limitation. And that too had a part to play in the yes of our salvation. Well, a few more examples of how all of us in this good parish say yes of bringing Christ's presence to others. Not in the holy moment that Mary did by giving birth to the Son of God, but how all of us bring Christ's presence to others, first deep within our own life, and then those we encounter along the way. Just as Mary's yes changed human history, just as the simplicity of our Advent platform changed from week to week, our yes, every day we have the opportunity to bring the presence of Christ to others. And this parish does so well. You remember during the summer when Sister Amy Marie from the Little Sisters of the Poor stood here at this ambo and conveyed her message to us of the work that the sisters do on the behalf of Jesus at St. Joseph's Home on Northwest Highway in Palatine. For those that reside there, many elderly who may not have another place to stay, and how she conveyed that story, and how so many of you responded yes to a second collection. In that second collection that we presented a check to her was $9,970. That yes by many of you on that Sunday, that donation from you to the Little Sisters of the Poor made a difference. That yes made a difference to those that reside at St. Joseph's Home. Also from our food pantry in the ministry center on a regular scheduled basis. Food from the shelves that are brought in by so many of you. Food from those shelves are delivered to the Little Sisters of the Poor for the shelves in their food pantry to be added to the meals that they serve to the residents, to our brothers, our sisters at St. Joseph's Home on Northwest Highway in Palatine. The yes of bringing in food to our pantry. The yes of our food pantry to bring food to Little Sisters of the Poor. That too reflects the presence of Christ in the lives that we're all such as intertwined with by the stars and the roses on our Advent platform. If you remember during the summer when we blessed our godparents, and at that time there were people who were, godparents, came from other parts of Illinois to be at those masses with their godchildren. There were people that came from out of state to be with their godchild once again and to receive that blessing. Those who say yes to being a godparent have made a promise to that child and to work in spiritual preparation with the parents for that child, their godchild, to gain an understanding of who Jesus is in their life and what it means to be a Catholic as they grow in age and life experiences. The yes of a godparent is a powerful yes in faith formation of understanding Jesus Christ in their godchild. If you remember, we blessed the grandparents. Grandparents are a powerful yes and influence in the life of their grandchildren. Grandparents reflect that continuity of family. They reflect that continuity of our faith within the family. Grandparents reflect that of consistency of one generation to the next generation to the next generation within a family gathering. And so many stood to be blessed as grandparents. Their yes to be an active, faith-forming grandparent in the life of their grandchildren teaches who Jesus Christ is. If you remember when we had our veterans stand amongst us during November and bless the men and women who are veterans of our armed forces, of our U.S. military. Those men and women at some point in time said, yes, I will serve my country in the military, in this branch of the military. I will take that oath to defend this republic, this Constitution, against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I will prepare to, if need be, sacrifice my life for the life of the country. That yes, through that oath and that service, one who's prepared to sacrifice one's life, is a powerful statement of those who serve in our military. And as you recall, we had the Chicago Shannon Rovers, 12 of them, here with us on that weekend at two of the masses, and they, through the pipes and drums, played the familiar music to those in the military of the particular branch of service that one took that oath for to serve this country. The yes of those men and women is a reminder of the patriotism and the sacrifice they're willing to make. And if you remember throughout the year, so many of you continually bring in food items and canned goods to our St. Vincent de Paul food pantry, and those who bring in items, food items, to our Emmaus Sunday hospitality. All those particular ways that you go to a store or from your own pantry and make a conscious effort. I'll bring this to the food pantry. That yes reflects an understanding of the corporal work of mercy. That yes reflects an understanding of seeing in another's needs and being met, because we're not a social service agency. Our food pantry is not a social service agency. Neither is Emmaus Sunday hospitality. These are ways that we say yes to Jesus and reflect the good works of charity and compassion towards others. There are those in our parish who have said yes to being what we call harvesters, using their own vehicles to go to stores in our community, just as those stores have said yes, of sharing their excess of inventory of food items and bread items and meat items to be donated as our harvesters pick them up and bring them back to the food pantry or Emmaus Sunday hospitality so that others may have a little extra bag or two for their family table. Those are different ways, as St. Teresa reminds us. It's in the little ways that we show our yes to Jesus Christ every day. In our sharing parish, Our Lady of the Americas, Tepeyac, our food pantry on a periodic schedule will send food down to the food pantry at Our Lady of Tepeyac on 22nd Street in Chicago, and here we are in Route 22 in Lake Zurich, separated by geography, but not separated by the gospel, not separated by how Jesus Christ's message of the great law of love. Love God, love one another. That reflection of a food pantry, sharing with a food pantry for those to receive extra food in their neighborhood, is a powerful yes of bringing Christ's presence to others. And how does the food get down to Our Lady of Americas? Through the Knights of Columbus volunteers and through Troop 309 volunteers who use their vehicles, load up those items, drive them into Chicago, and deliver them to those waiting for them at the food pantry at Our Lady of the Americas. And as I mentioned before, we're blessed with a very large space in our ministry center with our food pantry. Our Lady of the Americas food pantry is maybe 1/3 of that space, but it does just the same work of caring for others. And then if you recall the gift of love, under the leadership this year of Melissa Larson and Jane Cleary assisting. Gift of love. Through the generosity of so many of you who said, yes, I'll bring in a gift. Yes, I will adopt a family for what they may be asking for their children. 288 families reflected your yes for gifts during this time of Christmas. 89 residents at Mount St. Joseph on Rand Road received that yes that so many of you made through gift of love, of sharing a gift. And the giving tree. Patricia Linares mentioned this year that so many of you have said yes to the cards on the giving tree. Yes, I want to help as a way of reflecting my relationship with Jesus and bringing Christ to others. Patricia Linares mentioned $20,000 was raised through those gift cards to be shared with our brothers and sisters at Our Lady of the Americas. And Patricia and Jane Cleary made 2 trips with their vehicles with gifts that came in. And they delivered them to Our Lady of the Americas Parish to be distributed to families in their neighborhoods. The yes of bringing in a gift is a reflection of yes to Jesus Christ and assisting another during this holy season of Christmas. Different ways we say yes to Jesus. Different ways we show our discipleship with Jesus. If you remember our caravan of goodwill during the summer with our partnership with our Notre Dame Parish in Chicago on Harrison Avenue near Rush Hospital, now called from the mergers of parishes, Our Lady of the Holy Family. So many of you said yes in bringing in food items to those being sheltered in police precincts, particularly precinct number 12, or in shelters in close areas of that neighborhood, as asylum seekers or as migrants, words the government uses to identify. But for you and I, it has to be, and it has shown through your generosity and your yes. As Deacon Larry Sorcy spoke to us on a Sunday, but the sheer need. That yes reflects the great law of love. That yes reflects our love of God and our love of neighbor. The government can put a label on people, and I can have my own personal opinion about all this, what's going on, but there's a bigger picture here, and a personal opinion subsides to the larger understanding of who we are as Catholics and to live in the great law of love. And so many of you reaffirmed that message. And then, because 5 minivans were loaded up with canned goods and food items, with 5 volunteers driving those into the city during the summer to be distributed to those in need through Deacon Larry Sorcy's team. And our coat drive. Deacon Larry Sorcy mentioned just last week that this parish, so many of you saying yes and seeing the need, as the Chicago winter sets in, 2,000 coats have been donated thus far. 2,000 winter coats have been given to those in those shelters in Chicago and what was once the precinct shelter at number 12. That's a tremendous reflection of a yes. I hear a need, I see a need. As St. James says, if you hear it and you see it, then act on it. What good does it do to a person to come to you and say, I need a coat, I'm cold, and all one does, as St. James wrote, walks away and say, well, best of luck to you. So many of you did not walk away. So many of you walked into the ministry center or walked into the gathering space and placed winter coats and hoodies and hygiene items for those in need, as well as what was done by our parish school children, our youth ministry young people, and our religious education children and families, all coordinated to reflect the great law of love reflected by a winter coat or hoodie for another child or a young person. And then finally, the diaper depot in Round Lake Beach, operated by Catholic Charities in our own county of Lake. 4 times those blue bins have been filled, 4 times those blue bins have been emptied and been taken up to the diaper depot in Round Lake Beach. And again, so many of you have said yes to the need to assist a family needing diapers. Great law of love is reflected in those who bring in diapers for families in need. And the second collection, after the Don, who coordinates the diaper depot, retired gentleman, so many volunteers, no one on the payroll. At the second collection, we delivered a check through Tom Powers this week of $6,373. Those who donated, who said yes, and seeing the opportunity to reflect the great law of love. So many different ways, so many different opportunities that come to our attention, as well as others in this parish. Ministry involvement. So being a lector, being a Eucharistic minister, being a bereavement minister, being an usher, being an altar server. There's many different ways we show our yes to serve Jesus Christ. Now those I gave you are just a few. There's so many being done in this parish, seen and unseen, except seen always by the eye of God. How do we say yes to Jesus Christ? we say yes to Jesus Christ through the great law of love. Love God, love one another. I'll never tire of mentioning, this is a good parish. You are good people. And we are about the good news of Jesus Christ, of building up His kingdom of God, that it is so close at hand you can touch it. God give you peace. Let us stand and we'll pray the creed.